What is up, flag football fans, players, and coaches? Welcome to the Biokats Weekly Flag Football Podcast. Here is your Week 4 recap of flag football action in both 5A and 4A in the beautiful state of Colorado. I'm your host, Coach Pittz. I coach at Legend High School in Parker. Special thanks to our producer who does so much to promote girls' sports, Jerry Howard with Biokats. Perseverance, toughness, executing a game plan, teamwork, of course, leaving it all on the field, playing a role, focusing on the fundamentals. These are just a few of the life skills Colorado flag football players are learning. This is why we do this. And in the process, let's celebrate the standout performances and teams on the rise. Today, we'll recap on a great week of action as we go down the list of updated MaxPrep's rankings. First, let's congratulate your Denver Broncos flag football coach of the week, Summer Katsoff, head coach at Elizabeth. She's got Elizabeth in the top 5 of 4A. So let's talk week 4. So much good football action. We might be here for hours. You'll notice in some of the games I talk about top performances and in some I don't. It will usually correlate to whether stats were loaded into MaxPreps by Sunday morning. All right, here are your updated 5A MaxPreps rankings. Number 1 at 10-0 Mountain Vista. If they had a week, they were going to be tested. It was this one. It was number 1 versus number 2 on Monday night versus Shap. I hyped this up like it was going to be a great game, and Vista dominated from the first play. Ariana Akey nearly perfect in this one, 295 all-purpose yards. Looney and Coolbro, 2 touchdowns each. Akey, the leading tackler, with 7 tackles plus a sack. Vista holds Shap to under 100 yards passing. This was a touchdown, a 3-and-out, a touchdown, a 3-and-out in a dominant performance by Vista. It was 27-0 at half, and they never looked back. This was a statement win for them. Then on Wednesday, Legend gave it a try. Legend got this one tied 13-all late in the third quarter and was down just 20-13 early in the fourth before the wheels fell off. But by Legend keeping it close, Akey with Mountain Vista was able to keep the pedal down. She winds up with 370 all-purpose yards, 240 through the air, another 130 yards rushing. Braylon Looney shining on both sides, 130 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and 13 tackles. She was all over the field. For the Titans, Maddie Smolin moved the ball well versus Vista until the Titans were down 2 scores and had to kind of start taking risks, and that's when this one got away. But she gains 271 all-purpose yards. Lucy Thompson, another 100-yard game receiving, including a 72-yard touchdown. And Vista ended their week sending CT to the locker room down 40-0 at halftime, and that was it for this one. The coaches called it at halftime, 40-0 after one half. Arvada West at number 2. They played just one game this week for the Wildcats, but it was a big one. Chatfield is back closer to full strength this week, but 4 different Wildcats are able to grab interceptions. Emerson Drake, 243 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Alexis Mays, 10 catches for 81 yards and a score. Santana Pena flips the field with 2 punt returns for 61 yards. Shap, after the Mountain Vista game, they bounced back with a shutout win over Cherry Creek. Standout Sophia O'Donnell has been out this week with a knee. Hopefully it's not serious, but she's getting it checked out this week. Shap hasn't been quite as explosive without her, but their defense is nasty. Brianna Balzer and Chloe Petrillo lead the way with 10 tackles each, and Molly McWilliams gets to Addie Beck for 5 sacks. Shap's then able to do just enough to beat Regis. Petrillo, another 10-tackle day. Zoe Fink and Sydney Matthews get in the end zone for the Wolverines. Fink then drops a 123 rating and 3 touchdown passes versus Heritage. Freshman Maddie Walcott throws 199 yards for Heritage, and Phoebe Hudson with 9 tackles, 4 sacks for the Eagles. At number 4, Ralston Valley. They beat Northfield in a close one, 18-16. Northfield is able to pick off RV 2 times to keep it close. Ashlyn Callahan leads in tackles with 6 for the Mustangs and receiving yards with 53. And then senior Kaylin Corcus bounces back to throw 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in a rout of Columbine. Shelby Colosimo, 84 yards and 2 scores. Ashlyn Callahan, 100 yards, 2 scores, and an interception. Lily Lombardi, 2 scores, plus bonus points from this Packers fan for being a Lombardi. Go Pack Go. RV definitely earning this top 4 ranking. Valor Christian was off this week. No games for them. Let's look ahead to number 6, we've got Northfield. In a 30-6 win over Vista Peak Prep, Ali Garcia generates 330 yards of offense and 4 touchdowns thrown, 158 yards receiving for Caroline Cummings, and 2 more touchdowns in her breakout season. Plus, she snags an interception. But Thursday, even though they lost, I think Northfield proved they're for real as they hang on with RV all the way to the last second, losing just 18-16 before end up blowing out on Saturday, George Washington 40-0. Thunder Ridge, they're up to number 7. It was Claire to Claire, Wilson to Sims for 87 yards and a score. Claire Wilson getting comfortable at quarterback for the Grizzlies. She controls the clock and totals over 300 all-purpose yards. And later on, you'll see her on a slide for the top-rated passers in the state. TR's defense holds the Warriors to less than 100 yards of total offense. Caroline Clark leads the Warriors with 9 tackles. Then a 33 win over Heritage. Jordan Cochran doing it all. She was a quarterback last year. She grabs 3 interceptions on defense in this game and scores 2 touchdowns on offense. Douglas County, another team on the rise. They had 3 games this week, 0 points allowed. Jillian Cabral hits 8 different receivers and 5 different Huskies grab interceptions in their blowout win over CT. Pondo played them tougher, 14-0, but the Huskies grabbed 6 more interceptions in this one. And this defense pitches a 3rd straight shutout on Saturday, beating Arapahoe 19-0. Denver South on the rise. They beat Rangeview and Denver East this week. Junior Maya Davis comes up with 3 of South's 6 interceptions in their blowout of Rangeview. Iris Duran finds 4 different Ravens for scores, and in their shutout of Denver East, Asia Daniels finds the end zone 3 times. Legend on Monday started out with a matchup with Regis. Tatum Burke goes up high for 2 interceptions for the Titans. Sasha O'Hara, Clara Pickford, Taylor Williams also grab interceptions to help Legends score on Regis. You can tell it's hard to score on Regis' man-to-man defense. They're holding top teams like Valor to 6 points in regulation. They kept Shap in check. Their man-to-man defense is nasty, but Legends able to pick them off 5 times and generate some offense that way. Lucy Thompson, another explosive day, 154 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns as Maddie Smolin tosses 5 total touchdowns. We are up to number 11, Cherry Creek. After their loss to Shap, they bounce back and get a win against Mullen, 34-26 in a shootout. Legacy at number 12. Not much for stats provided in these games. London Lower is able to throw for 125 yards for Thornton, but Legacy is able to take them down. Doherty, they come up with maybe the biggest win of the week, beating TCA in triple overtime, 19-18. They hold a stacked TCA offense to 6 points in regulation, and they're able to do what most teams can't, and that's intercept Kelsey Peterson. They do it twice, and they win it on an extra point. Big win for Doherty. North Glen, Caitlin Fujinami tosses 4 more touchdowns and runs for 1. Carol Martinez Tiscareno leads North Glen with 9 tackles. Grandview at 15, Ponderosa played awesome defense to make it difficult for the very talented Brooke Sullivan. Anna Johnson snags 11 tackles for Pondo, but Anaya Coleman grabs 2 interceptions for Grandview to help them beat Pondo. Then Grandview intercepts Vista Peak Prep 6 times. They get 3 touchdowns from Abby Kirkpatrick to dismantle VPP. It's maybe the first time I've seen a kid throw 3 touchdowns and intercept 3 passes. But that's what I was talking about last week when I was singing Brooke Sullivan's praises. She owns it on both offense and defense. That is one tough kid. 16, Rock Canyon. Last week I mentioned the accuracy of Haley Reynolds against Mullen. She goes 16 for 20 with 3 touchdowns. Steffi Thomas for Mullen finding the groove that she had last year. Mary Jane Archibald reels in 12 catches for 127 yards. She also had 10 catches for 137 yards against Evergreen. The 5'10 senior is on the rise. Rock Canyon, though, gets a 47-yard interception return from Sophia Bonstetter. Columbine, they played Dakota Ridge and won by 2 scores versus Dakota Ridge. Ella Riben tosses 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers before their loss to Ralston Valley. Chatfield, I mentioned, they're sitting at 18, just the 1 game this week as they lost to Arvada West. And Pooter rounds out the top 20. I have to talk about this 1-point game they played with Mountain View. This was a defensive showdown. Each team intercepts 3 passes for Mountain View. All 3 picks are by Jessica Hopkins. She wills her team to a win when Pooter was winning almost the entire game. And this one for Pooter, Marley Brenner takes an interception and returns it 75 yards. She had 2 more picks versus Skyview, and Brooke Pravlik threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for another one in that blowout win. So let's take a look at 4A. I don't have quite as many details. There weren't as many big games in 4A, but the Classical Academy, of course, had their huge week with their big win over Pomona. I think everyone knows Jay Cordova versus Kelsey Peterson is a matchup to watch, but it was Jerica Thompson who steals the show in this one. She steps in for 3 interceptions, 10 tackles. Peterson throws 4 touchdowns, and TCA wins it 27-12 in a potential state title preview game. They end up losing that one to Doherty, and then they're able to beat Elizabeth to wind up the week. Pomona turnovers were the key in that game, as in that game with the Classical Academy, as that one was tied going into the 4th in the potential title game preview. Denver North, Mountain View, Elizabeth. Olivia Nelson is a leader for Elizabeth in tackles, yards receiving, and everything in between for that standout sophomore. Manual, Green Mountain. Green Mountain just had 1 game. Plumley, 6 passing touchdowns and a running touchdown, plus Ella Cockram, 3 more interceptions for this all-star defender. Kate Poley catches 3 touchdowns for the Rams in their blowout over Wheat Ridge. Air Academy's been quiet. They haven't had too many games yet. They had a win over Fountain Fort Carson 12-6. Monarch gets the win 38-0, and Mullen beat Evergreen before losing to Rock Canyon and Cherry Creek to wind up the week. So let's take a look at some of our leading passers across the state in 5A. Faith Prinzo still sitting on a 122 passer rating. She is crushing it this year, almost 250 yards per game and 70% passing completion. That is nuts, with all the chaos of having 2 rushers coming at you, and zones and mans and matchups and drops and teams masking defenses. She's still able to complete 70% of her passes. Zoe Fink wasn't quite as explosive this week, of course, but she's still sitting at a 120 passer rating. She is a very talented sophomore. Maddie Smolin slinging it, 114 on the passer rating, sitting 3rd in the state, 218 yards a game. Ariana Akey, over 2,000 yards through the air, 113 passer rating with her arm, but she just bails this team out. They had a 4th and 14 at Legend on Wednesday. We thought we had her bottled up. She's somehow able to sneak down the sideline for a 17-yard gain to keep possession for Mountain Vista. Iris Duran, 110 on the quarterback rating for Denver South. Sadie Goodwin having a great season, still sitting north of 100 in the passer rating. Allie Garcia, Caitlin Corkus putting together a season. Caitlin Fujinami and Claire Wilson making the list for Thunder Ridge, as that team is on the rise. Let's check out your 4A highest rated passers. Sophia Hall with Evergreen having a great season, nearly 150 yards per game, very efficient at an 83 passer rating. Ava Palmer from Littleton. Kira Knowles taking over for Mountain View. Kelsey Peterson slinging it 220 yards a game and a passer rating of almost 80. Jay Cordova right there as well. Alexandria at Cordero, Denver West. Savannah Plumley having a great year for the Rams. Lacey Antonora, Elsie Walker, and Gianna Fabrizio with Dakota Ridge. Leading receivers in both classes combined, we've got Ashlyn Callahan, almost 800 yards, over 100 yards per game and 13 touchdowns. Lucy Thompson, she's only played in 6 games. She's got 15 scores and 116 yards per game. Braylon Looney, of course, a favorite target for Mountain Vista. She had a crazy catch in the back of the end zone against Shap. She had a couple catches in the front of the end zone against Legend. Just a huge week for her. Caroline Cummings, Northfield, 10 touchdowns. Marissa Van Gilder, a favorite target for the Rams. Lindley McReynolds stepping up for A West. Check out Kaylee Besh, another favorite target for Vista. Jordan Cochran all over the field for the Grizzlies. Savannah Prinzo catching it from her sister. Santana Pena from A West is just a speed demon and a punt return stud. And Ellie Johnson from Valor. Let's check out our leading tacklers. Chloe Petrillo, coach's daughter, 68 tackles on the season. Phoebe Hudson getting to the quarterback. I'll talk about sacks in a second. Addie Busick, Braylon Looney all over the field on both sides of the ball. Jada McConnell-Ash, Ella Cochran, Jordan Cochran, Berlin Bratton, Emma Lamar, Sophia Abar, and Brianna Baltzer from Shap making the list for leading tacklers. Our sacks leaders so far through the season, getting close to the halfway point of the season. Emery Bowman from Dakota Ridge and Phoebe Hudson from Heritage, both with 24 sacks. Molly McWilliams with Shap making life difficult for opposing quarterbacks. And George Washington's got Jada McConnell-Ash on the list with 21, and Denver North has Emma Lamar with 20 sacks. RV Bailey Cummins, 20 sacks. Janine Norton from Legend, 14 sacks. They run Rover by committee. And Savannah Trotter, 13 sacks for the Rams. Games to watch this week. Monday is the Columbine Chatfield rescheduled game. Make sure you check out that one. Tuesday, we've got Thunder Ridge and Grandview. That'll be a big one. Northfield, Denver South, Doherty, Elizabeth, Denver West, and Manual. Wednesday, check out Mullen and Overland. Green Mountain, Stanley Lake, Douglas County, and Shap could be a really good game as Douglas County is on the rise and Shap wasn't quite as explosive last week. Douglas County might be catching Shap at a good time there. A West and Ralston Valley, the rematch. Valor and Columbine and Bear Creek and Lakewood on Wednesday. Thursday's action, Regis Groff, Denver West, Rock Canyon, Valor, Northfield, Rangeview. Friday, check out Thunder Ridge and Douglas County. Elizabeth taking on Littleton. That'll be a good one for the top ranks of 4A. Saturday, Chatfield, Valor, North Glen and Pooter, Mullen and Arapahoe, Columbine and A West, Steamboat Springs with a tournament or kind of a jamboree environment there, taking on Pomona, and they'll take on Green Mountain. So next week, we'll check out the league races. Coaches, we appreciate your participation. Send me those Google forms whenever you have standout performances so I can mention them on the podcast. I pull stats, usually Sunday mornings around 7 a.m. to prepare for the podcast. Did I screw up anybody's names or any other corrections? Shoot me an email, darrenpitzner@gmail.com. Follow us, HoopsTracker. Follow Jerry. I'm at Coach_Pittz on Twitter, the Biokats. If you missed the 4A and 5A season previews, check those out. Go back and check out the Week 1, Week 2, and Week 3 recaps from this amazing season. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the Biokats Weekly Flag Football Podcast. This is Coach Pittz. Thanks for listening.